general when he's no longer a general? What can you do with a general who's retired? Well, more like an ace, not a general. And I mean, he's not actually retired, but you get the point, right? What's up, everybody? I'm Tara Wellman. This is Birdseeds, and the Cardinals, well, they were bad, and then they were kind of good, but now they're bad again. And for a team that was desperately holding on to hope in a really weak division thanks to their starting rotation, this week was a pretty big bummer. Because, well, that rotation, well... At least Carlos Martinez gets a pass because somehow he's figured out how to still be good, thankfully. But he's not exactly getting a lot of help. If you didn't get the reference from the song at the beginning, well, first of all, stop right now. Come back and watch this later. First, go watch White Christmas. Yeah, it's June. I know. I don't care. Just go watch it. You can thank me later.
Who's got a job for a general when he stops being a general?
Second, that song is from one of the best scenes in the movie, but it also emphasizes a really relevant point. What can you do with a leader who's used to being the leader not in title alone, but in action, when he's physically unable to lead in the same way anymore, but still mentally just as hungry to be a significant part of the team? Yes, I'm sadly talking about Adam Wainwright. Now, before you panic, please note, I am a huge Adam Wainwright fan. He has been my guy for as long as I can remember, and it's been absolute torture watching him struggle the last few years. But as much as I'm a fan, I'm also a realist, and it's impossible to deny the fact that Adam Wainwright isn't the Adam Wainwright of old anymore. For the former ace to go 5 innings in just 5 of his 14 starts so far this season is not great. And yes, I know, it got better for a while there, but let's just break it down a little bit. In his first 5 appearances this year, Adam Wainwright threw 25 innings, which of course is an average of 5 innings per start. He gave up 18 runs with 7 walks to 26 strikeouts, which isn't a bad ratio, but the opponent OPS was a pretty sky-high 946. Again, not great. Now, in his next 6 starts, things definitely got better. He threw 36 2/3 innings, which is an average of just over 6 innings per start. He gave up 9 runs, so cut the total in half. Walked 16, which isn't great, struck out 28, but that opponent OPS dropped to 610. Good, we're moving in the right direction. Looks a lot more like classic Adam Wainwright, right? But then came the next 3 starts, his last 3 starts, where he threw a grand total of 10 1/3, and in his last start, he didn't make it out of the 2nd inning. He gave up a total of 20 runs, with 6 walks, 7 Ks, there were 4 home runs involved, and that opponent OPS jumped way up over 1,000. It's safe to say that Adam Wainwright's fighting it this season, and by it, I mean time. Now, he's far from the only one to face this dilemma. In fact, quite literally, everyone does. Sometimes guys get out of the game before they face this particular struggle. Sometimes, as with Wainwright's predecessor Chris Carpenter, an injury forces the issue, but in a twisted sort of silver lining scenario, eliminates the reality of having to find new ways to do things that used to be pretty routine just because you're older. But it's not a death sentence. I mean, athletes in general, and pitchers specifically, reinvent themselves all the time, right? I asked the people of the internet for some help on this because, admittedly, the scope of my baseball history is a bit limited. 1, to primarily Cardinals players, and 2, to, well, the late 90s forward. So I asked for a little bit of help, and the list of successful reinventions got pretty long pretty fast. In most every case, there was one particular common thread, and that is a coach or even a teammate who helped that starting pitcher do something different than they'd ever done before. Maybe it was learning a new pitch. Maybe it was focusing on location over velocity. Maybe it was strategy and learning how to utilize pitch sequencing in a different way than whatever had been the bread and butter of the past. And in some cases, it even included accepting a role change. Now, I don't expect Adam Wainwright to go all Rick Ankiel and become a superstar center fielder, although that bat in the lineup every day is an intriguing option. But what if there was a different pattern to follow? There were some great examples thrown out on Twitter earlier, but every time I think of a starting pitcher who had historic success in adapting throughout his career, despite unfortunate physical limitations, without eliminating the ability to contribute in historic ways to his team, I immediately think of John Smoltz. This is a guy who won a Cy Young Award in 1996 while pitching on the same staff as Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux. And after multiple injury-plagued seasons, including Tommy John surgery that took him out entirely from the 2000 season, he took his 150-plus career wins as a starter, set them aside, and moved to the bullpen, where all he did as a closer was convert 154 of 168 save opportunities in 3.5 seasons. Even after that, when in 2005 he convinced the Braves to let him earn back a starting job, he found more ways to be successful, making yet another All-Star team that year on his way to a 14-7 season where he posted an ERA just a shade over 3. Now, his brief stint with the Cardinals in 2009, after yet another surgery, mind you, wasn't exactly anything to write home about, per se. But I remember even then being so impressed with his competitive drive and how that seemed to overrule everything else. I mean, not injury, not ego, not age, altered his focus on finding ways to be not just good, but great in whatever role, in whatever physical capacity he had at the moment. I'm not suggesting that Adam Wainwright needs to just give up on being a starter. I mean, not even John Smoltz did that. But what I am suggesting is that he doesn't have to be a starter, much less the number one starter, in order to be a very important leader on this team. Whether it's learning a new pitch or developing new strategy or even at some point accepting a role change, there are lots of ways that Wainwright can provide tremendous value to this team, even if it's not the way he always has before. Although I will be honest, Adam Wainwright's closer days are pretty fond memories, and well, the 9th inning is still a bit of a question mark for this team, so there are worse ideas. Ultimately, someone needs to be Adam Wainwright's Dave Duncan and help him learn how to do something that he's never done before, even if it's not exactly the thing that he would do if he was choosing exactly how to continue his career. The truth is, Adam Wainwright is still very important to a lot of people. To his teammates, to the organization, to the fan base, to the city, and personally, he's provided me with a lot of unforgettable memories, and I'd like for them to not be the last. We all want to love Adam Wainwright for what he continues to do for this team in maybe even a different capacity, and not just remember him for what he's done for this team in the past. If there's anyone who can make that transition, I genuinely think Adam Wainwright can, as long as he's willing to. At the end of the day, Adam Wainwright's my guy. Maybe Adam Wainwright's your guy. Maybe Adam Wainwright is the guy for the St. Louis Cardinals, and the truth is, we all love him, as painful as it is to watch at the moment. So Adam, find a way to work it out, because, well, we'll follow the old man wherever he wants to go, long as he wants to go, opposite to the foe. We'll play with the old man wherever he wants to play, long as he stays away from the 10-run days, because we love him, especially when he keeps him off the board. And we'll tell all the kiddies we saw a miracle from the wiliest veteran hurler of them all. I'm Tara Wellman, and I'll see you next time on Birdseeds. If you missed last week's episode, go ahead and click right here to go straight there. And if you want to make sure that you never miss an episode of Birdseeds, click subscribe.